Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Plan B Success. Who we have with us today is Case Lane. Case is a global writer, entrepreneur, traveler, and the founder of Ready Entrepreneur, which teaches you how to become a successful entrepreneur. But before all that, she spent time doing the conventional things. She went and studied communications, political science, business, law, economics, like any astute student would. And then she had a corporate career. She was a diplomat, a consultant, and a corporate executive. So she's been there, done that, tried everything, and then she took a step back and said, I gotta do what I really want to do, and that's where entrepreneurship came into play. She started with writing books. She self-published a book. That's where she got started. And then she started going deeper and deeper, trying to figure this world out. And now she teaches others to do the same thing. She's got her own podcast, the Ready Entrepreneur Podcast, where she teaches tips, tricks of the trade in terms of what you need to do to become a successful entrepreneur. And then she's also released a book recently that we will learn all about it. And this book is pretty much in line with what we are going to talk about. It's called An Aspiring Entrepreneur's Practical Guide to Getting Started with an Online Business. So having said that, welcome, Case.
Thank you. Thanks for the great introduction. It's great to be here.
We're so glad to have you. We're really excited to hear from you. You're in line with a lot of the listeners out there. The listeners that come to this show are basically either entrepreneurs or corporate executives, professionals, or students. And everybody's trying to do the best they can in their life and their career. Yeah. And there's a lot, I'm sure, that they can learn from you and your journey. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, yeah, just like you said, I did everything I was supposed to do, as they say. Although I'm a bit of an overachieving student, I have 5 post-secondary degrees, but I wanted to obviously work and live and do what everybody was doing. But in the back of my mind, I was always interested in starting my own business. So as I went through my various corporate careers, like I was in the Canadian Foreign Service, I grew up in Canada, and I worked in trade policy, so I was talking to business people all the time. So I decided it was time to get my MBA, and I did that, and then I went into corporate and ended up talking to lawyers and thought, I should really have my law degree. I could probably then, leverage that because things were getting in digital media and technology were really beginning to clash. That's where I was working. And then while I was in law school, that's when I started ebook self-publishing. And what occurred to me was what's happening with all of online business. Ebook self-publishing, what Amazon and Smashwords and Drafted Digital allowed writers to do was go directly to readers. No more middleman. And so now if you had an idea, all you had to do was develop it. Now, obviously, you still have to distribute it. You still have to promote it. You have to market and sell. But you could do it, whatever effort you wanted to make was going to be leading to that outcome. You didn't have to worry about going through all sorts of other people to get there. So this proved to be exciting because I realized as I was doing this that this actually applies to everything else that's out there. You think about especially right now, all the problems people have. People are searching for answers. And if you're somebody you don't even have to have a business idea in your head. You don't have to have any special educational credentials or something like that. You have to have an interest, and an interest that you can help other people. Like if you've done something, for example, if you've been researching online about a particular subject, maybe it's a health issue, maybe it's a house maintenance issue, maybe it's an entertainment or sports, you have an opportunity to become that person who is a leader on that particular idea because you've actually done the work. Being one step ahead of people. And everybody's online. You can see what people are searching for. You can literally see what people are searching for online. So this really opened up a lot for me. That's why I started Ready Entrepreneur. People started asking me what I was doing, and I was just getting into this whole world of what is online business, blogging, podcasting, YouTube, like what does it all mean? And that's so I decided what was missing was the very beginning of the process for so many people who don't see that whole playing field and then wondering, okay, where do I get started? So that's what Ready Entrepreneur does, is help people prepare at the very beginning of the process.
So tell us a little bit about your childhood and then, your adulthood in terms of the corporate world that you worked in.
Yeah, I mean, childhood was, there was no, I'd always been thinking about whether I knew business people when I was growing up, and I probably did, but there's no sort of emphasis on that. It occurs to me, this is just like an off thing, because I downloaded a book the other day called Reluctant Genius, which is the story of Alexander Graham Bell, who most people know invented the telephone. And he's Canadian, and that's what we learned when we were growing up, that he invented the telephone. But in fact, he invented like 20 different things. And I thought that's so interesting that they didn't teach the whole story. Like, why is it that, business and that kind of entrepreneurial drive and innovation, all those things are just not what's taught? Everything, there's one sort of general story that's taught, and then from there, everybody just kind of accepts that you follow this particular path. So that's what I have. But once I got to the U.S., I went to UCLA for business school, and then I got into corporate, and that was a whole, it was a new world, because I'd come from Canadian federal government to U.S. corporate world, which are two completely different cultures, and it was. But I everywhere I go, I like to learn. And so what I focused on was how much, of course, that I could learn. And it was always interesting to me as a management consultant. I know the employees on the other side never like seeing the consultants coming, but for us, it was always about trying to figure out how the business works and how we could help them improve productivity or efficiency or whatever the thing was. So I learned a lot in that time. And I always tell people, especially young people, college students, who are like, oh, should I bother, and this type of thing. I think you can learn anywhere, obviously. So if you're trying to decide and you have an opportunity to just take a job and get into professional life, and you're not doing anything else, I mean, I always talk entrepreneurial road, but if you don't want to put in the time for the entrepreneurial road, take that job where you can learn and take as much out of it as you possibly can, learning about the different aspects of business, marketing, finance, operations, whatever it will be, because all of that will help you later as an entrepreneur. And that's what I was able to do with transitioning my work experience.
I've got a curious question. I ask this of a lot of people, and I wanted to know your take on it. You've been pretty deep in academics, several degrees that you have. There's this raging debate nowadays between, is college really worth it? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of kids out there who decide not to go to college. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think the elephant in the room is two things that people refuse to say when they talk about college. One is professionals. All the people who are saying skip college, when you ask them, okay, what about your accountant? What about your doctor? What about your engineer? What about your architect? Like, oh no, not those people. Okay, so that's number one. If you actually want a professional, especially a licensed professional, then yes, everybody's going to expect you to have a college degree and college credentials and your licensing. So all those people who say skip college desperately want all the people who are professionals and are interested in that to go to college. Then the second thing is, I'll just have to call the network. Some colleges are, let's just say, have access to people. So, and I mean, all sorts of people, government, business, even the sciences, educators, what have you. So, if you are coming from a world where you don't have access to people and you have an opportunity to go to one of the big colleges where you can get that access, that's going to help you for the rest of your life. So I think to be realistic about it, yes, there's obviously for a lot of people, if you don't know what subject you want to study, don't waste your money. Don't just go for no reason or because all your friends are going and you don't even know what you want to do. Make sure you know what subject you want to study, especially if it's a profession that you know that you can actually get a job and work. And if you are going and you're not really sure that you're going to a big school, then take advantage of the fact that you're there. I mean, I'm one of those people who would look at the entire university campus activities. Of course, right now there's no campus, but I'd look at who's speaking on campus, who's coming here, what kind of job fairs are happening, what kind of book fairs, whatever. I would take advantage of the whole scene. And I think, obviously, right now, I'm going to say definitely not go if you can't be on campus. If networking is what you're trying to do, or build your network, because obviously you're not going to be able to do this easily. But you can be on campus when that comes back and take advantage. If people actually use college for what it's supposed to be, which is an opportunity to learn more, and to build their minds and grow, that it's a great experience. But if you don't know what you want to do, then don't bother because you're wasting your money. And it's a horrible, horrible thing, I think, the setup we have for young people to go into debt. So I would suggest go to work, even if it's a couple of minimum wage jobs. Save all your money, save every penny. I'm serious, like live in your parents' basement and save every penny. And then when you figure out what you want to do at college, go to college and pay cash for it. So, instead of just going because all your friends are going now and then going into debt.
So let's talk about your transition from corporate executive into being an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, it probably took time, effort, and energy and, some misses and some hits before you establish yourself. So walk us through that journey when you decided to make the transition.
Yeah, so it is, it's always a bit nerve-wracking when you decide, okay, for the first time in my life ever, I'm going to have to figure out how to pay myself, not have anyone else, sort of automatically putting money in my bank account. So you start out, and it's also it's a transition to figure out how to work, in the sense that when you get a job, you automatically get a schedule. You have to decide what time you have to get up so that you can be at work on time, when you're going to finish, when you're going to get home. So all of that's all set for you. When you're self-employed as an entrepreneur, you have to figure that all out on your own. And if you've never done it before, that's actually a big step. And I think, I say to people, don't beat yourself up if you got overwhelmed and you decided to binge on Netflix. Like just, don't do it every day, but just take a breath because that happens. You realize that you have to figure out what your schedule is going to be. And not just the work schedule, but when you're going to exercise, when you're going to eat, when you're going to do chores, all these things. So if you have family and how you're going to manage, because when you're at home, if you're working from home, all of a sudden everyone's like, well, everything I need done at home is something yours to do because you're here. And you're like, no, you've got to really enforce with people that you're working on your business and you need that time. So in my new book, Recast, so the book is called Recast, and then the subtitle is The Aspiring Entrepreneur's Practical Guide to Getting Started with an Online Business. And the first 5 steps, it's 10 total, and the first 5 are what I call foundational. And this is why I wrote that, to help people understand, just how to get started in the step-by-step process. So first of all, you start out, I always say, I refer to it as take a deep breath, but it's just around getting your mind around this idea that you're now an entrepreneur, you're running your own business, you're working from home or from the coffee shop or whatever. So you have to do these things to get yourself organized. So I do talk about finding the place where you want to work, getting all your tools together, removing distractions, getting a new schedule and setting that schedule. And some people, it will take them a day to do those first 5 things, and other people might take a year. And that's okay. As long as you keep working, but you're still trying to adjust, you're not sure. Some people know they want to work at the coffee shop. Other people want to go to the library. Other people have a place at home. So you do have to work that all out. And now this is all from experience. I didn't learn this from the beginning. And so they say, turn your mess into your message. And that's what because when I first started, for me, it was completely just not, what I had thought I was going to be doing. I always wanted my own business. I didn't know what that meant. I started reading books about entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship. I wanted to learn more just about what the whole world was, but I was already in the world, and then I started reading the books. So you can always read them ahead of time. And you just have to give yourself at the very core of everything the reason why you're doing it. So for me, I'm very committed to the entrepreneurship for all, in the sense that I think we would be much better off as a society if we had a larger percentage of entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs in that way of thinking. And I think it's inevitable also. I also write tech thrillers. I write fiction tech thrillers. I'm kind of interested in this whole future world and how technology is changing the way we live. And so you can already see it happening, that with technology changing the way we live and function as society, more and more people are going to have to think of ways to earn their own income. So we're better off now training and preparing to be entrepreneurs than having it hit us like it hit us this year, but having it hit us again. So with that in mind, that gives me the momentum and the motivation to keep working what I'm doing. When people reach out and say, oh, I read this thing you wrote and that really helped me, whatever, that's like fantastic. It's like, okay, I'm ready to do more. So you have to just always have a really good reason. What gap did you see that you thought you could fix? Like, what is the solution? Because remember, you're creating a product or a service that people want or need. So that should be your momentum. Like, okay, what was that thing? Why do I think that's important? And that's what keeps you going. And again, you can take a day off every now and then, but just stay focused on why you wanted to do this in the first place whenever you're feeling sort of overwhelmed or feeling down.
And how did you find your first customers? How did you turn that first dollar?
Yeah, now that's one of the toughest things in the world, because so many people say start with friends and family. But your friends and family think you're crazy when you go to start your business. So again, learning the hard way, I did start putting those feelers out and getting a lot of pushback. So I also learned to start asking what I call roundabout questions, where I say to people, do you know someone who would be interested? So I had two things happening. I had people asking me directly what I was doing. And those people then become, of course, your lead, but then they're kind of just asking. So then you say, do you know someone else who'd be interested? Who else do you know is looking at starting their own business, or who has actually, said that they're doing something online? And so and that's another thing. I started looking at what people were doing online besides just posting cat pictures or whatever. And I said, if they commented on something or business or something, anything, could have been about a product or anything like that, I would go back and say, have you been thinking about starting your own business? So it did come initially like that, but I want to say people can absolutely, if you have no one, and this is a big thing with me, I really want to help people understand that you don't have to have a set group of people supporting you to get started. Yeah, so you can start with nobody in terms of having no friends or family who are agreeing with you, but you start, so it's a trade-off between time and money. You start organically online, just asking questions if people are interested. And now if you don't have any of your friends in your social, you go into forums and groups that are talking about your particular subject. Be a contributor first. Don't start saying, hey, I've got a business. Anyone want to join me? You start by posting answers to questions and showing that you have something to offer. And then you start posting those questions back to people saying, is anyone interested in this? Is anyone interested in that? So you can build it all organically. And then the money one is obviously you can buy advertising. So you can start a business at any time and just start advertising it if you want to. And there's a lot of success stories around that if you've got a good enough idea. But you also you still need to build up, I would say, some social proof, in a sense. People like to see some reviews or comments or something like that. But if you've got a good enough idea and good enough advertising, you can certainly start selling product ahead of time. So as you're building that first customer, that first dollar is going to come, through one of these paths. For some people, it's even, actually, I should say, sometimes they are asked to do something by people who sort of get them into online business indirectly because they're already working in a particular field that wants to go online. So there are different ways to approach it, but I started with my network, so to speak.
So under the Ready Entrepreneur umbrella, what all do you offer today?
Yeah, so I prepare aspiring online entrepreneurs to understand the global market, where you can use technology resources. There's ways to start for free. There's ways to obviously to pay inexpensively, and then to understand that, again, the marketplace is just the whole world, and this is where your opportunity lies. So when I get to the second part of my book, the other 5 of the creative side, working on your business idea, a lot of people say they want to do something online. They just don't know what it is. And so that's where I am at the beginning of the process. I'm like, well, are you interested in writing? Do you want to be a blogger or talking? Do you want to be a podcaster? And I talk a lot about what those different options are. Some people, especially professionals coming out of corporate, think, well, I just want to manage an online store. I like a particular product. Maybe I'll do that. That's fine too. You could do an e-commerce store. You don't even have to do the work, in the sense that you can outsource everything. You could have a virtual team. So if you want to be a manager, you can do that. So we work through your business idea, and then we work through the kind of research that you like to do to figure out how to get the business actually set up, what kind of connections you want to reach out to, how do you find people, and then I work with you to create what's known as the action plan. I'm all about action plans, not business plans, not formal documents, just action plans. And then, you just get started. So I don't focus on any one particular area of online business. I have links to resources, if you're interested in being an Instagram influencer or whatever it is. But I do focus on just right at the very beginning of the process, when people say they want to start an online business but don't know where to get started. That's where I come in.
I know you have a podcast too. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, so on the Ready Entrepreneur podcast, I do both interviews and commentaries and blogs. The subjects that I write about my blogs, I also do on the podcast. And my interviews, I focus with entrepreneurs on how they got started. And I also ask that same question: where'd you get your first dollar? Where'd you get your first customer? Because especially the most successful entrepreneurs, you'll hear this umbrella story about, they were in poverty or something like that, and then they got rich. And so what is that path? And I just focus on the very beginning. I actually get into the details. Okay, then who'd you call next? And who'd you call next? Like, I really, because I like people to understand how it's possible. One thing about entrepreneurs is they come from every background you can think of, every education level, every economic circumstance. And, so there's a road for anybody who's interested in this and wants to do it. And I think it's difficult sometimes. So many people think, oh, entrepreneurs, they're special. They've got something going on. They've got a magic thing around their heads or something like that. And in fact, the regular people who did do just all they did was keep going. Like, the number one thing I feel between success and non-success is just to keep going. It's those people who just stuck with it and persevered. And when people always throw out this statistic about how most businesses fail, but they never say the other side about what about most entrepreneurs? Because so many entrepreneurs are serial entrepreneurs. So maybe they created 100 businesses and only one was successful. They only need one. So what's the real statistic? That's the one I really want to know, is what's the real statistic about people who started out wanting to start a business, and how many of them are still running a business today or not? And that's what I would look at, and that's what I would think about. So it's really important to just stay focused, and that's what I try and help people work through as you're getting started. And again, I think it's the opportunity of a lifetime. I think the world is absolutely changing. It's changed already. It changed faster than anybody thought it could. We say online business today, soon it will be just business, and online will just be that other piece of the infrastructure that happens to be where business is done. And you can get these skills now and earn. You can build your professional skills in tech and online. You can hopefully earn extra money, no guarantees, but you would always have this opportunity to earn extra money and give yourself that lifestyle freedom, which is such a big piece of it that everybody wants. There's three pieces that you get, what I sort of say, pillars of life that you get back when you start an online business and are able to make it successful. And one is your professional satisfaction. So you get to use your skills in a way that works for you. And a lot of people might be in a job that's a good job and they like it and so on, but they're not really stretched or using their skills or challenged in any way. You start your own business and you will find a lot of different things. And then, of course, we talk financial security, and obviously no guarantees, but that's what people are going for. You want to have more money coming in, even if it's just a little bit more that you can use to invest or save or something, there's your opportunity. And then the biggest piece is the lifestyle freedom, the fact that you can set your own schedule. So last year, people might have turned down, working 9 to 5 or working 80 hours a week or 100 hours a week for someone else. You might have turned down going to a family wedding or going on vacation. And then this year, you don't even have a choice, right? So think about, the opportunity you have if you're running your own business. Obviously, you have to do the work to run your business, but getting that scheduling freedom and being able to make those decisions that you really want to, make the things that you really want to do. I mean, that's what makes this such an amazing transition. If your plan B is to give yourself the life you really want to have, it takes time, it takes effort and so on, but isn't it worth it to end up on the other side doing what you really want to do, having more money and having your lifestyle organized the way that you want it to be organized and not run on somebody else's agenda? That's what this is really all about.
Absolutely, absolutely. So for someone who's looking to get started, especially in the kind of an economy we are right now, what would you advise? Where do they begin? And how do they come upon the right idea for themselves?
Mm-hmm. I always say begin with just looking around at where people are asking for solutions. And probably in your own life, what are the problems people are having right now? Well, it's everything from basic stuff around sort of managing the house with everybody there to, so you take a look at, so you look around where there are gaps in the marketplace right now. So people that are, asking questions, asking for solutions to problems, and look at all of your interests. I always say to people, let's just do a big mega list of all of your interests, everything that you've ever liked and done. And it doesn't have to just be your work experience and your education and credentials like that. It can be, your hobbies, your volunteer work, what you like to look at online, the social media stuff, so on. So I always tell people just go through that entire list. Let's do the exercise of everywhere that you have an interest or a passion in something. Take a look at wherever you see gaps. What are people asking questions about? And then if you still can't find anything, you can literally go online. You can go to Google Keyword Planner and see what people are searching for. You can start entering keywords around things that you're interested in, and Google will tell you what people are actually searching for. So I think there's just a lot of different ways. I mean, obviously, people are searching online all day long looking for goods and services that would help them. And that's where the opportunity lies for entrepreneurs. Something about the economy, too, because I know, okay, yes, obviously it's difficult, so on, but remember, there is this big group of people that are still working. They have their salaries, but they don't have anywhere to spend them. There's no movies, there's no vacations, there's no dining out. Also, all that money is going into the stock market or, going to pay off debt or whatever. So again, so the money that used to be paid to the 30% of people that are suffering because their jobs aren't available right now, that money that used to be paid to them, a large part of it is sitting with people. It's not like it's like an economy where everybody suddenly broke, like, in past economic downturns. This is one where the money is still being paid to people, but they have nowhere to spend it. So that's again why it makes it an opportunity for entrepreneurs.
So one question I had for you was your own business. What do you do in terms of marketing, and where do you find your customers today?
Yeah, so I am a bit of everywhere. I know people say that's not the way to do it, but I started out obviously with the writing. So I write books, and my books are available all over in all ebook stores and print. Not every book is available in print, but that's something I'm moving towards. I have a podcast, which is out every week, the Ready Entrepreneur podcast, where I talk about what I'm doing and where I stand on different things. So I have the blogs as well. Many of the blog, I say multiple because I have a fiction writing books, and I also have the nonfiction. So I'll talk mostly about Ready Entrepreneur, but I also do on the fiction side my other books, and I have all my Facebook pages and groups and so on. So and I advertise. I do Facebook advertising and Google ads. So right now everything, of course, is online. There's no more in-person stuff, but hopefully when we're able to go in person again, that I can do more in-person speaking and masterminds and things like that. So right now it's mostly writing. It's my books and my blog and podcasts, and then direct advertising for other things that come up. Like I'm right now working on a course, and that will be Facebook ads that I would use for that.
For people that want to find you and your books, where do they go? Where do they look for them?
Yeah, so just look for me, Case Lane, and wherever you like to buy ebooks, obviously at Amazon.com and iBooks and all the rest. And for my website is called ReadyEntrepreneur.com. And there you'll find lots of resources. You'll find the blog. I also have some courses. You'll find all of that there. And on social, you can find me at Ready Entrepreneur HQ on Facebook, and at Ready Entrepreneur on Instagram. Just reach out on social. Always like to talk to people. And at Case Lane World on Twitter as well.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Case. This has been great. There's a lot to learn from your journey for those who are aspiring to take the same one. One last thing that I'd like to ask of you is any takeaway that you'd like to share with the listeners, from your own experiences, from your own life, in terms of what worked and what they should focus on.
Yeah, I would definitely say is to keep going. That's the one thing that I always tell people is if you take a look at the books about entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship, you'll find that the big thing that everybody has in common is that they did the work. They just continued to do the work, whatever it was. And even as their business changed, things went up and down and so on. They just continued through it. That's the key to success, is the perseverance. It doesn't have to be difficult, doesn't have to be hard, doesn't have to be soul destroying or anything like that. It's just a matter that from the beginning you want to keep going, that this is what you want to do, it's what you're interested in, and that's how you pursue it. So I highly encourage everyone who is thinking about starting a business, who has a business idea in their head, or just wants to be an entrepreneur, knows that they just want to do something, to just go ahead and go for it and keep going.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Case. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. And then we'll make sure that we include links to your website and your books in the show notes. Thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you for having me on. It was a great conversation.
I hope you liked that episode and are enjoying all the episodes in Plan B Success podcast. I'd encourage you to go subscribe on your favorite platform, whether it's any listening platform or YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you subscribe so that you enjoy this content and extract from it what serves you best, what benefits you in your own life, personal, professional, business, whatever it might be. PlanB.live is the website where you can go in order to find any episode that you would like to listen to. 3 times a week, we release episodes, the first being an inspiring interview with someone who's done it, been there, done that, and can inspire you to go after what you want to achieve. Every Monday, that's the episode that gets released. And then, on Wednesdays and Fridays, we pick a topic and we talk about it in order to benefit you in your personal and professional life. At the same time, if you're someone who's interested in learning more about these concepts, if you're someone who's interested in podcasting as well, go check out planbsuccessschool.thinkific.com. That's where all the online courses are. You can learn and benefit from them there as well. There's a bunch of free courses. There's a bunch of paid courses. Start with the free ones. Get to learn what you aspire to learn. And if you want to delve deeper, then you can sign up for the other ones. Thank you very much.